Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Coffee and Sports in the Morning. I'm with my boy Mo. We missing our man Will. Mo, how you doing, man? How was your day?
Um,
How was your night? Sorry.
my night was interesting. It was fun. Welcome everybody that's joining us this morning in chat. Let's get into it.
Let's get straight into it. So I want to talk about Tyrese Halliburton, man. He's getting a lot of buzz lately, man. Especially off not getting the Eastern Conference Finals MVP. He lost it by one vote. Um, but do you think he was robbed, Mo? I mean, Siakam averaged 25 points, 5.5 rebounds. Halliburton averaged 22 points and 10 assists. Did he get snubbed on this?
Nah, I think they got it right. If you look at the numbers, it's really close for overall in the series. But if you look at the last 3 or 4 games of the series, Siakam got better as the series went on. He was dominant. Like he was the one guy on the Pacers, even more than Halliburton, that nobody in the Knicks could guard. They didn't have anybody on the Knicks that could guard him. Not Cat, of course, not Mitchell Robinson. Bridges was too small, Hart too small. OG he would beat up in the post. Like they could not guard him. I've seen Siakam play well in the postseason. I've never seen him look dominant the way he looked against the Knicks. And if he's going to take that confidence into the finals, I think the path to Indiana making it a good finals, I think it runs through him. I think Halliburton is still the head of the snake, but the guy that needs to be the leading scorer, the dominant scorer, Siakam.
So you saying Halliburton's the head, Siakam's more the venom for the team? Would you?
That's exactly what it is. Halliburton gets them started, but I think for them to make it a series, Siakam's got to be the killer. He's got to be the guy that goes, nobody in Oklahoma City can out and out guard me. I think the best matchup clearly is Chet Holmgren, but the only question is, can Chet guard him straight up? Because I know he can affect him from the weak side, but can he guard him straight up? Because I think that he can bully Chet into the post.
Mm. So do you think Halliburton is a superstar in the making right now?
Yeah, I think that's fair to say that he's on the path to becoming a superstar. But like I always tell people, like this is a tremendous run, and he's had so many great shots and great moments. I have to see a little bit more before I anoint somebody superstar. Look, I'll say this: win or lose, if Halliburton plays at a high level in these finals, and he's able to make it a competitive finals along with Siakam and others, I think that elevates him. If he, you know what I mean? Like, nobody and their mom expects this to be a good finals. Let's be honest. No, that's real. Nobody expects this to be a long finals, and certainly nobody expects Halliburton to be the best player in this finals. This finals, to me, win or lose, is where he could elevate himself.
It is, and he's coming a lot more theatrical, doing the chokehold. He's, what I mean? He's being more of a person like how Reggie Miller was. He's starting to taunt people. He's starting to try to get his own persona going to put him into that spectrum of superstar range.
No, I
But
like that. I like that. Look, I'll say this: if you look at this series, how it shakes out, he's going to have to deal with Caruso, Casey Wallace, Lou Dort,
mhm.
J Dub, and SGA, who's actually a real good defender too. Not to mention Hartenstein and Chet on the back line. I I know he's got his hands full, but because he's got his hands full, I think this series is ideal for Siakam to take over.
Yeah, it could be, but it's also, I mean, Halliburton's a playmaker first. So if you take him out the game, you pretty much it's gonna be a tough game for the Pacers because he has been the guy setting everybody else up, and he's been coming up in big moments. Like if you in big moments, fourth quarter, he's been holding the ball in his hands. Took Giannis off the dribble, going to the cup, laying it up, shooting key big threes. Like Halliburton's been stepping up, man. Like he's like Mr. Underrated in the playoffs right now, man.
I think every accolade, every flower that he's been getting, I think he deserves them. But like I said, the true test of what he is when people use the word superstar, it's coming up. It starts on Thursday. Is he? I know
Mhm.
that he's a playmaker first, but he needs to be the guy that averages let's say he averages 19 points a game and 12 assists and shoots a high percentage. That's what you need from him, that kind of series. The question is, are you going to get that kind of series?
My question to you is, you starting a franchise, you going with Halliburton or Brunson?
Just so I'm a bad team, and out the blue, I'm like, these two guys are in the draft. I'm saying I'm clearly a lottery team, right? So I'm a lottery team, and I'm like,
seeing what you have seen from both players right now, and this is what you getting for your team. Are you going Halliburton for your team, or are you going Brunson?
I don't think there's a wrong answer, but I would take Brunson.
I would take Halliburton because he can play with anybody. Brunson,
I think Brunson can play with anybody too.
Brunson's more. He's one of those guards that is your baby, but if you was 6'6", you would be a dog, like a really big dog. Like but he gets folded. Like he was getting bullied. They walling this dude up. He can't go nowhere. Causing turnovers. He's folding up.
I've never seen Halliburton or Brunson get bullied. I would say that they trapped him.
The trap on turnovers on this dude.
Right, but that's him being trapped. That's not a single defender, and that also has a lot to do with coaching. Tom Thibodeau, not a good coach. He just isn't, especially offensively. So, I get that you would go with Halliburton, but he plays in a system where they play fast. It's to the strength of his game. There's nothing wrong with that. Whereas in New York, Brunson is everything to their offense. They've decided to be Brunson-centric based off the way that Tom Thibodeau coaches. All I'm saying is Brunson's Halliburton's like 6'7", I believe. Brunson,
he's 6'5".
He's much taller than Brunson. My point is Brunson plays my point is Brunson plays bigger than Halliburton, and he's 6'2". He plays bigger than Halliburton. He has more responsibility as a scorer. Like, you can't bully him. You might be taller than him, but I don't know a guard that's physically stronger than him. You could bully Halliburton more than you could bully Brunson. You'll see that Thursday night. He's going to get bullied a lot.
I don't know, man. I mean, he's more of on a Rondo playmaking side of the ball versus Brunson's more of the Allen Iverson side of the ball type of player.
Correct. I'm glad you said that. Right. Very much the way Larry Brown coached those Sixers. What did you have? You had a dynamic scorer that was surrounded by dogs who did the dirty work. Thibodeau wanted the same thing. He did not want Karl-Anthony Towns. He did not want Bridges. Those were Leon Rose moves. One of those moves was to appease Brunson. But when you brought in Towns, I think you got better offensively, but you got a lot poorer defensively. I would say this. They're different players. Brunson is more of a scoring point guard versus Halliburton being, I'm not going to say he's a traditional point guard because he scores more than a traditional point guard. He's somewhere in the middle. I would call Halliburton more of a combo guard.
So let me ask you this. Did the Knicks overachieve this season?
Absolutely. That's why when people go, I can't believe they didn't make the finals and they're disappointed. Like, tell me this: who had the Knicks beating the Celtics? Who raised their hand up and said that was going to happen? Nobody said that was going to happen.
And nobody knew that Jason Tatum was going, tear his Achilles, So that series still could have went the other direction. You know what I mean? So we clearly know that Jaylen Brown can't carry the Celtics without Jason Tatum. So I mean,
Do you think that the Knicks underachieved or overachieved?
I think they overachieved, but they took advantage of the situation.
Okay.
Like, the East is really not that strong, so it was pretty much the Knicks or the Celtics that was going to go anyway.
I agree that the East is more top heavy.
My fault. Everybody thought it was going to be the Knicks or the Celtics, but the Pacers have become that surprise team, like the Dallas Mavericks did that one season when they dog walked everybody because they was playing on a scale that nobody ever seen, like just like the Pacers are. You got Naismith out here hitting threes. You got people, nobody even talking about out here just hit threes like Jason Terry. He had an insane season for the Dallas Mavericks, shooting like 10 for 10 in the playoffs from the three from on certain games. Like they was playing absolutely crazy, just like the Pacers are. They're not on that scale because they don't have a Dirk. That's their only problem. If they had somebody like a Dirk, I think the Pacers they probably would be winning the shit this year.
A Dirk. I don't think Siakam's a Dirk, but I think he can be their leading scorer. Like I said, if he's gonna play the way he played in the conference finals, he gives them a chance to win. I think the Pacers, this is a great run. It's a great run. Now to be fair to them, they were in the Eastern Conference Finals last year. So they exceeded and they've made it to the finals now. So clearly they're a good basketball team. Do I think the Pacers are going to suddenly dominate the Eastern Conference? I don't. I think they're going to be in the hunt and they're going to always be one of the top teams, but I don't think they run the conference.
Yeah.
Because this is more of a run. Like New York did the Pacers a favor because a healthy Boston, they're beating Indiana.
Yeah.
That like in a weird way, New York cleared the path and made it possible for the Pacers to get to the finals. I don't think the Pacers beat Boston. I want to give them credit because they did beat New York. And they beat them with the style of play that they've played the last 2 or 3 seasons. And
I thought you did say if the Pacers play their game and make them run, it's over with for them.
And that the whole key to that series was pace. And the Pacers they played at their pace. The scary thing is, if not for the insanity of what happened in game 1, we'd be playing a game 7. Like I've never seen a game 1. I've never seen any kind of game like that. I don't care if it's game 1 or game 5 to happen what happened in that game. I've never seen nothing like that.
So Cottrell said roster-wise, they did what they were supposed to do, but they actually played in the regular how they played in the regular season. How they played in the regular season is the reason why people are saying that the Knicks are overachieving right now.
I think so. The argument that most people would make is they put together a roster that could beat the Celtics, right? They did.
Could that roster really beat the Celtics?
Right. That was going to be my point. But go back and watch that series. It wasn't the roster moves why they beat the Celtics. It was that the Celtics were willing to give up 20-point leads and fall apart. That wasn't about the roster moves. That was about the Celtics.
What do you think happened with that? Like, how do you, as a great player that Jason Tatum wants to be, you allow your team to buckle like that on the 20-point lead?
I think that's the thing, though. What do we do when guys are on the rise? We credit them for their strengths, but when they come up short, we acknowledge their weaknesses. I think Jason Tatum is a tremendous player. I think there's no question he's a superstar. Here's where I struggle. I don't know if Jason Tatum's a great leader. I don't know that when things are falling apart, he's the guy in the huddle that's like, guys, I got this. Let's follow. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if he's that guy. I feel like mentally Jaylen Brown is that guy, but he doesn't have Jason Tatum's talent.
I like that. I like that. It makes sense.
Right? Like Jaylen Brown is the dog, but he doesn't have Tatum's talent.
And we clearly all see that. OKC is the youngest team in NBA history to make the NBA Finals behind the 1976-77 Trailblazers. Is this a real is this a team that you see that is better assembled than the KD, Russ, and Harden Thunder?
I don't know if it's better assembled because the KD Harden. Think about this: Russ drafted, KD drafted, Harden drafted, Serge Ibaka drafted. Like they drafted all those dudes. They drafted Jeff Green. So it's not that they weren't talented. They went into those finals, and remember, SGA is 26, going to be 27. Durant was 23. Russ was 23. Harden and Ibaka were 22 and 21. I know the numbers say that the current OKC was younger, but if you just look at the cores of both teams, that team was much younger.
It was younger, but they didn't make the finals until they all was
they
26-ish.
No, they made the finals when they were that young. Remember, they played Miami in the finals. That's how old they were in that finals. A lot of people don't remember. Just go back and look at the numbers. They were that young in that finals. There's never been a younger core, I would argue, that's been in the NBA. And look who they played against: LeBron, Wade, Bosh. That's a tough squad.
Well, come on, KD though. I mean, the only problem I really got is Russ. He was the turnover machine. Like, I don't know. He either win you a game or he gonna shoot you out a game.
And that's fair, but remember, the same way. What's the conversation you and I had a couple of weeks ago? You were telling me how, come on, Mo, Jalen Green's only 23. He's gonna get better. I'm only bringing that up at the time that Russell Westbrook was 23 in those NBA finals. He was 23.
Indeed, he was, man. But
by the way, Jalen Green's not taking nobody to the NBA finals ever.
You never know, man.
The only way he's going to the NBA finals if he buys a ticket like you and I.
Hey, Geno Smith was a late bloomer, man.
And now he's back to being regular Geno. So he was a late bloomer, then he unbloomed.
Hey, see, Harden didn't show up as he usually do in playoffs, man.
100%. By the way, James Harden, how old was he in that finals? 22, 21? You're right. He didn't show up. By the way, Ibaka didn't show up either. I remember that finals.
He said he averaged 9 points.
Yeah, that's facts. That's facts. But again,
Harden, I don't think Harden was starting in that series.
He was a six man. So I get that, but that James Harden is not the James Harden to play for Houston. That's a completely different James Harden. So I get the argument, but had he been the James Harden of Houston, that would have been interesting. That would have been a different thing to look at. Look, that we can play the what ifs this or what ifs that. I want to give Miami credit. That series, they played smart. They were the veteran team, and they made the plays they needed to make. I think when you look at today's Oklahoma City team, when you look at their team, I think they're more well-rounded when you go 1 through 9. That's how deep they can go. I don't think the other Oklahoma City team could go that deep. You bring guys like Case and Wallace off the bench who can be an elite defender, but he can also score. Alex Caruso can be a reliable three-point shooter, as well as Lou Dort, and they're all locked down defenders. And then you've got 2 7-footers in iHeart and Chet that can play in space. That's very unique. Very unique. I will say this: if you believe in great coaching and coaching matters, I said this on another show the other day. It was 7,200 seconds with Coaching Key. Here's the thing about coaching. Rick Carlisle knows you can't shut. He knows you can't shut. What did he say?
James Harden, hashtag trash.
Look, and a lot of people feel that way. I get that. But look, Rick Carlisle knows he can't stop SGA. But you know who he can stop? He can stop J-Dub. He can shut down Chet. I think that's going to be the Pacers' strategy. Let's guard him straight up, but
if the refs don't let SGA be the foul merchant, he getting like 10 points, 10, 12 points from the line. If they let them play ball and stop letting him foul hunt, would this be a different series for the Pacers?
I think that's part of it, but look, he's really good at throwing himself to the ground. He's a terrific scorer, terrific player. I'm a fan. But if we're gonna kill Trae Young, if we're gonna kill Luka,
Trae Young killed himself, man. He's a good.
No, I'm talking about would being the foul merchant. I'm talking about Luka would being a foul merchant. I'm talking about prime James Harden would being a foul merchant. SGA does the same thing. He actually does it better than they do. He really sells it.
I don't know. I was watching some old James Harden clips the other day, man. When he played for the Rockets, was he really a foul merchant? Because he looked like he was doing actual basketball moves. He caught a lot of and ones and 4-point plays, like shooting straight up. He wasn't really looking to try to get fouled.
I'm talking
He
about
was dogging people.
I'm talking about when he drove to the basket. Harden had this thing where he would lower the ball and bring his arms up through your arms. He did it all the time.
I mean, think about it. If you're going through the lane and you got people there, what they gonna do? They're swatting at the ball, right? So that's on you at that point.
James Harden is absolutely a foul. I mean, not now because he's not the same player, but in his prime, come on, man. That guy shot 11, 13 free throws a game at times.
He was did you not know he was unguardable one-on-one? There was nobody that was guarding this man, dog.
Until the playoffs. Then he was guardable.
Guarded by who? A ghost? Because he was just bricking shots. Like
I'm just saying, you can make a case that James Harden might be one of the greatest regular season players in the history of the NBA, but in the playoffs,
straight dog, man.
In the playoffs, dog. He ain't that dude. Rick Carlisle. To get back to the series though, that's got to be the game plan. They're going to go after J-Dub and Chet and take them away from SGA and put more pressure on him.
That would be good. So let me ask you this. Is there a real potential, and I mean real, that the Pacers could pull off an upset in the finals?
No.
Because Vegas got them winning by a landslide, man.
Let me say this. The fan in me that loves basketball, I do trust in Rick Carlisle, but look, you can have the greatest game plan in the world and it doesn't work out. Looking at the two teams and the way they play and the talent that they put on the floor, it looks like at best it would be a 5-game series. But I'm hoping that Rick Carlisle and look,
what's that, Pacers in 5?
Stop it. I want Rick Carlisle not to just game plan, but I would tell people this: don't sleep on guys like Nembhard, Nesmith. Don't sleep on Benjamin Mathurin, who's a bucket. Like, don't sleep on the fact that Miles Turner is going to take Hartenstein away from the basket. So I do think it has the potential to be a good series, but it all centers around, can Indiana slow OKC down? It's not the other way around, because OKC is going to score no matter what. I don't know if Indiana can say the same thing.
This is true. I think they would. They probably had to take more than one out of OKC to get this series. But
no, I think Kyle's right though. You have to take one of the first 2 games to establish this is going to be a series. If Oklahoma City wins the first 2 games, series is over. Because they're gonna win in Indiana.
I don't know, man. The Pacers turn up at home, man. You know what I mean? They got Caitlin Clark in the crowd cheering on Tyrese Halliburton. They all doing Tyrese gets hype at home, man. You know,
they lost to the Knicks a couple times at home, so I don't know how hype he get. He got hype in game 6.
Come on, they was close games at home though.
But they still lost.
They did.
Look, remember, you're going up against the number 1 offense, and they're also the number 1 defense. That's a lot.
That is a lot. So next off season for the Knicks, man, is it a number 1 priority for them to get Cat up out of there?
I would say this: you brought Cat in to take a step further in your development. Well, you got better. You went to the conference finals. And you didn't get blown out. You lost in game 6 of the conference finals. And again, if you didn't have a historic breakdown and lose game 1, that is an all-time. It might be the greatest choke job I've ever seen. And lose game 1, you're probably right there in that series. I guess the game plan is this: if you want to move off of Cat, you can do that, but what are you moving to? What is the solution? Because if you're moving Cat, you're moving him for what? That's all I'm saying. Like
a better 2-way at the 4.
But what is the better 2-way? All I'm asking is this: if the Knicks say we're going to trade Karl Anthony Towns, what team out there who has a better 2-way player is going to go, yeah, let's take the lesser player for our guy? Nobody's doing that.
Or what? Cat could be an elite defender? I know you joking,
don't-
but that
I
is
don't.
crazy. He is terrible at defending. Even when he was with Minnesota, he was terrible at defending. He was always a dog offensively, though.
Well, look, I would say this: if you knew Karl Anthony Towns and the kind of player he was, you got everything you were supposed to get. You got an all-star player, a third. I think he made third team All NBA, and he's not a good defender, but he never was a good defender. But to be fair, their best player, Brunson, not a good defender. Not a good defender.
You know what I
it's
think?
Easy to point at Cat, but you can point at everybody.
You know what I think the problem is? Everybody's going into that. It's the stupid switch everything era, and that's not going to work for you. Like somebody like OKC can do that because they have multiple defenders that can guard multiple positions. If you a team that know you got weaknesses on defense, bro, there's no switching. Your best defenders need to stay on SGA. OG need to be guarding him, or one of the other players. There should never be Cat guarding one of them guards, and he's just standing there with his hand like this and letting the dude just shoot right over him, and he's about 5 feet away from him. Like,
right, but the problem with that strategy is that killed them the other way around too, because when Cat played drop coverage, so he couldn't get blown by, they got whatever open shot they wanted. That drop coverage against a team like Indiana, you're gonna get killed. You're gonna get killed. I don't like drop coverage in general, unless you're playing against a horrible team that can't shoot at all. Drop coverage is your worst enemy.
I mean, Cat did get caught up a few times on in the switch moment,
right? And in drop coverage is it'll kill you. But the Knicks didn't lose the series because of Cat. That's not why they lost. Like when you say, well, whose fault was it? Everybody's got a slice of the blame pie.
Cat got a bigger blame because he wasn't defending nothing.
No, nobody gets a bigger blame than their head coach because he made no adjustments. Start there. Tom Thibodeau didn't. He gets his full share of blame pie.
That makes no sense because he's a defensive coach.
Well, again, I want to remind you, he didn't request that they trade for Cat. He didn't want that. Remember, he and Cat have a relationship. He coached him in Minnesota. You think he wanted to see him again? Nah, he didn't want to see him again.
All right, Mo. So here we go. Knowing what we know now of players thus far in their career, man. You starting you got you a new NBA team, man. And this is your selections.
Sure.
Are you going with Siakam, or are you going with Zion? Thus, given what they have given so far into the NBA,
I'm going with Siakam. I don't want Zion.
You don't want Zion, man?
I'm trying to win, and a big skill set that's underrated is availability. Zion's never available, so I'm going to win. I'm taking Siakam.
Taking Siakam. Evan Mobley, Siakam.
Taking Evan Mobley.
Evan Mobley is a dog, man, but I don't know, man. I think Siakam's a better scorer than him.
He is a better scorer, but we are talking about Evan Mobley, who's 23. Like, I still think that he has growth in his game, so I think he's far from what his peak will be.
I don't know, man. We don't know until we know, right?
Which is why I'm taking Evan Mobley. I know what Siakam is. I'm a fan of Siakam's, but what Siakam is never going to be, he's not going to be your best player. He can be your leading scorer, but he's not going to be your best player.
Zion Mobley.
See, Cottrell.
He said he going Zion. I don't know, Zion. Man. You need to get him a weight management coach.
I'm not taking Zion over nobody until he conquers the knife and fork. I'm not taking him over nobody.
Your favorite, man? Siakam, Julius Randle.
I'm taking Siakam. That's easy. Come on. That's easy.
Siakam or Sabonis?
You mean Sabonis for the Kings?
Sabonis for the Kings.
Sabonis don't play defense either. He can't guard me. He can't.
Joker don't play defense, but you would take Joker over anybody, wouldn't you?
Right, but here's the difference. This is the argument that we can have. Right, Joker is not a great defender, but he's such a dominant offensive player. He controls the game.
There you go, Cottrell. Playoff Randall. You ain't going to playoff Randall?
Well, so are we going to playoff Randall for this year or playoff Randall for his career?
Well, I said,
because if we're going playoff Randall for his career, hell no, I ain't taking him.
No, we know of the players
Right.
thus far. Given
You're giving me one body of work. Julius Randle's been trash in the playoffs his whole career. He just had this one playoff run, and we're calling him Playoff Randle. You're not Playoff Randle.
Oh man,
he looked closer to his true self against Oklahoma City. That's the Randle I know.
Oh man, so Jalen Williams, Siakam.
Ooh, I think I'm taking J-Dub.
Chicken date J-Dub.
You know what J-Dub is that people don't talk about enough? Even when he's not shooting the ball well or scoring, J-Dub was an elite defender. Like, I mean, J-Dub could be he could be a defensive player of the year candidate. He's that good a defender.
Like people going J-Dub with that one. Siakam and PJ.
Michael Porter Jr. Is that the MPJ you're talking about?
We going up against.
That's not even a good. That's a horrible matchup.
We go.
Michael Porter Jr.'s family is not taking him.
He had a terrible season this year, but the seasons before he was playing good.
I won't disagree. He's been good in the past, but the best. I'm talking about the very best version of Michael Porter Jr. is not better than Siakam.
Okay.
You know, like he literally is a one-trick pony. He can't put the ball on the floor. He's not a good defender. He's a 6'10" catch and shoot guy.
Cool. I mean, he's a solid defender. Well, he was. I don't know what happened this year, but
he played defense about as good as Kyle Korver. He ain't playing defense.
Siakam, Karl-Anthony Towns.
That's a really good one. I would say this on talent, overall talent, I would take Towns. But when you put everything together, I'm talking about your talent, your basketball IQ, and your feel for the game, it's not even close. I'm going to take Siakam. Karl-Anthony Towns, for his talent, I'm just talking. For his talent, is one of the dumbest players I've ever seen.
You got no basketball IQ, Mo?
He has negative basketball IQ. He is a stupid man.
A lot of people say Cat should have been, when Jalen Brunson was in the game, he should have been dominating the game for them while he was on the bench.
I'll give him credit. If you watch Towns in Game 6, he had a mindset that it was the right mindset offensively, is that I'm going to take the ball to the hole no matter what. But it got to the point, if you watch Game 6, he just started running through people, throwing up all kind of crazy stuff. It was really wild shots.
Blame that on Joker. Joker does it and get away with it.
I don't think they're the same. I think when Joker goes to the basket, he's actually trying to make a shot. Towns was just flinging stuff up in the air, flexing his arms and stuff. Like
I mean, if you look at a lot of those spin stuff, Joker, he looks lazy doing it, but he scores the ball. That's the crazy part. And I think Towns wanted to emulate that a little bit, man. You know, he wanted to see if he can get it off, and he failed miserably.
Yeah, stick to shooting jump shots.
Hey, he was cold Game 5 though, man.
I'm not saying Towns is not talented. You know what? I had this thought. I put it out on TikTok, and the question was real simple. You might have saw it. Right. I asked a simple question. I said, can you win a title with Randle or Towns being your second best player? Because I don't think you can. I don't think Towns can be your second best player on a title contender, and Randle can't be either. It's funny that they got traded for each other, but they present similar problems.
So moving on, giving his injury history into this, Anthony Davis, Siakam.
Anthony Davis, he's just a better player.
You going AD, even though he's injury prone?
He's still a better player.
But he's not available.
Well, he was available enough to win a title, so he was available to win a title.
He played 30 games that year in a bubble.
I don't do that, because everybody had the same opportunity. It wasn't like it was slung their way. Everybody had the same opportunity.
You're right, but I'm gonna give you this. AD is not a longevity player. He can't handle. Just like everybody talk about Nick Foles and how he was turning up in the playoffs for the Eagles. But
let me put it to you this way. I'll simplify. Carl Anthony, whatever you think of Anthony Davis, he's gonna walk into the Hall of Fame. Whatever you think of Siakam, he ain't going in. He is not right now today. Nobody talking about Siakam's not a Hall of Fame player. He is not.
Siakam got two, man.
He got two. What? He got one ring.
He got two. He got a ring with Toronto. With he was the number 2 for Kawhi.
So what's the second ring?
Oh, you're right. My fault. He got one.
Right. You trying to give him extra rings? He
on his way. He on his way. Pacers in 5, man.
Here's a spoiler alert. He ain't getting that second ring this year. I like Siakam a lot. I'm sure somebody in the chat will go, "I'll take Siakam." If I'm given the opportunity, I'm taking AD. It's not. He's a better basketball player.
Oh man, Brandon Ingram, Siakam.
Brandon Ingram. Really? I'm taking Siakam. I'm sorry. BI is one of the most overrated players in the NBA.
He's a scoring forward, man. He get buckets.
BI is one of the most overrated players in the NBA. If you don't like it, we criticize the superstars for not coming up big when it matters most. I've seen BI in big games. He's gone AWOL many times. There's a reason why BI is in Toronto, and I'm going to give you a spoiler alert. Toronto will not be BI's last stop. It will not be his last stop.
Aaron Gordon, Siakam.
Aaron Gordon is more of
I think BI hurt somewhere.
He's on Toronto, Jory, but you won't hear from him ever again. Ever again.
Aaron Gordon. You going Aaron Gordon?
I think they're different players. I think Aaron Gordon is more of a complimentary player. I like everything about Aaron Gordon, but
so Siakam's not a complimentary player.
No, I think he is a star. I don't think Aaron Gordon is like Siakam's a perennial all-star. Aaron Gordon is not. I think Aaron Gordon is a much better defender, but I would say this: what Siakam can give you offensively, Aaron Gordon can't do that on a consistent basis. I would take Siakam.
Siakam or Jaren Jackson Jr.?
I'd take Siakam
over Jaren Jackson.
One of the most overrated players.
You'll take Evan Mobley, but you won't take Jaren Jackson? He can score better than Mobley.
So he can score better than Mobley, but here's the thing. I like my power forwards to average more than 5 rebounds a game. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
You do know Siakam averaged 5.5 rebounds in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Right. He's in the Eastern Conference Finals. He's also dropping almost 25 points a game. All I know about Jaren Jackson Jr. is he spends most of his time shooting threes. He spends no time in the post. There's a reason why Memphis is sitting at home, and he's a big part of that reason. Like, he's one of the most overrated players in the NBA.
I mean, they fired their coach, mid-season.
That's not the reason they stink. They stink because they stink.
So you don't think John Moran is the reason why they really stink? Because he ain't really a friendly, I want to share the ball type player unless he feels like.
I think when you have John Morant and Jaren Jackson Jr. as your franchise players, you've got problems. That's the problem. And I'm not telling anybody that Jaren Jackson is not talented, but I'm talking about how he plays the game of basketball. He lives on the perimeter. And he got to the point where he lived on the perimeter so much, he forgot the thing where he made his money. He used to play defense at a high level. He did not do that this year. I would not take Jaren Jackson because I think Jaren Jackson, I just feel like there's an inconsistency there. There's a disconnect.
All right, so let's move on, man.
Kyle made a great point. Jaren Jackson is as frustrating as Cat. He is. He might not be.
Cat is an old head that's frustrating. Like Jaren Jackson's a young kid. He's still developing.
Hold on. Isn't Cat like 27?
Cat's almost 30 years old, man. Jaren Jackson's like what, 23?
He's older than that. Come on. He's like 24, 25. I don't think there's a huge gap in their age.
I mean, I think Jaren Jackson ain't been in the league. Cat been in the league longer.
For sure, Cat's older. I'm not arguing that, but I think they're in the same company. It's not like you could call Cat cat grandpa. They can have dinner together. Like, you know what I'm saying? They're of the same era.
All right, so let's move to some NFL, man. Everybody's been talking about it in the OTAs, man. Shador's out here carrying in the OTAs, man. They predicting that he's the favorite to start week 1 for the Browns, man. Are they blowing this up too much, or are they like, what you think going on right now, Mo?
I think that these are the OTAs, and it's easy to look good in 7-on-7 drills. I'm not making anything of it until I see Shador Sanders in pads in a preseason game against some NFL players. Matter of fact, I want to see him getting first team reps against a team's first team defense, and then I can judge him. So I get it that he looks good in OTAs, but a lot of guys look good in shorts.
I don't know. They said he's the most efficient one with getting the less snaps.
I get it, but they did draft somebody ahead of him for a reason, right?
No, I think it was just being disrespectful, man. That's all.
You really thought, like, let's just draft some random dude to make him mad?
Mo, you dead serious think Dillon Gabriel should have got drafted where he's at?
I'm dead serious. I never heard of Dillon Gabriel. but he did get drafted ahead of Shador. I know on draft night when I heard that name called, I was like, "Who the hell? I don't know who that is." Who? I had to go to YouTube and look at Dillon Gabriel highlights.
Was it good highlights?
I mean, they were all right, but I don't know.
That was third round worthy for him to get picked up.
Oh, I wouldn't have picked him, but the Browns are the Browns for a reason. So.
Oh man, so the Falcons, what do you think they're going to do with Kirk Cousins? Because I don't think they're going to step back and let him start over Michael Penix.
I don't either. I think even if Michael Penix struggles at times, which young quarterbacks will do, I don't think they're going to bring in Cousins because you don't want to mess with Penix mental. So I don't know that that's not true. I don't know that that's not true, Kyle. You're right. I think that Kirk Cousins, I would not, I still think that it's on the table that Kirk Cousins gets moved. I do.
Where would you?
Pittsburgh need a quarterback.
Amen. I was just about to say it, man. That'll be a good spot for him, man. And he actually won't play ball and win.
Yeah.
Versus you sitting there waiting on your boy.
I don't know. Look, this, to me, I've never seen anything like this before. Pittsburgh is still like, no, we're going to be patient. We're waiting on Aaron Rodgers. That's crazy.
It is crazy, man. Speaking of Aaron Rodgers, do you place him in the top 10 of all-time quarterbacks?
Top 10. I think he's top 10. Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, just off the top of my head, I think he's top 10.
All right.
Wherever you think Brett Favre is, he should be ahead of him.
You think he should be ahead of Brett? I mean, he got better skill set than Brett. I'll give him that.
And I know somebody's gonna go, well, they both only won one Super Bowl, right?
They did.
But Brett Favre is also the master of the pick six.
Wasn't it? That came later, though, man. That came later.
Brett Favre was always throwing some wild. In his peak, he was always a wild boy. Always.
But I mean, I think with the way it was panning out for him between Peyton Manning and Tom Brady, how they was running it up with playoff runs, going to the Super Bowl, and I think A-Rod just became more protective over his QBR rating and slowed it down instead of he didn't want to take the risk to get there. You know what I mean? Just trying to protect the legacy for himself.
No, I'm not disagreeing that. Again, I think Aaron Rodgers was a great quarterback, and I think if you judge quarterbacks just on talent, if you put everything into what a quarterback could be, Aaron Rodgers he's more talented than Peyton Manning or Tom Brady. Better athlete than either one of them, like in terms of his talent, but then in terms of how his talent was applied, he didn't do as much. I wouldn't rank him ahead of either one of them. It is what it is.
So here we are, Mo. We got the season that's about to get, preseason getting closer to the season of the NFL 2025-26 season. Micah Parsons is on his last year of his contract, which means he's potentially holding out, man. So the Cowboys is out here going to do stuff like get George Pickens and, do you think they can pull off a long-term deal for Micah Parsons without hurting themselves?
Yeah, that's a double-edged sword. I'll say this to answer the question, is Micah Parsons going to get a long-term deal from the Dallas Cowboys? Yes, he will. So if they have to make some cuts here or there or move some money around, they're going to do what they need to do to maintain the services of Micah Parsons.
That's going to cost them, man. Speaking of which, you got to pay him more than Fred. You got to pay him up there with Myles Garrett. So it's going to be a tough pull for them Cowboys, man, with Dak and CeeDee Lamb there. And
yeah, look, I'm not saying it's an easy thing, but there's no way that Micah Parsons doesn't get a deal done. And he's probably going to be the highest paid defensive player in the history of football when it happens.
I wouldn't do that if I was the Cowboys. But
no, I'm not saying I would do it, but I'm going to tell you that's what they're going to do. I'm going to let you know I wouldn't do it.
Yeah, Jerry might do something like that, but Trey Hendrickson does not have a contract. I don't think the Bengals will be able to pull this off with given the fact that Burrow, Chase, and Higgins take up 44% of their salary cap, and then you got a dude who is clearly a top pass rusher in the league. Would you really have paid Higgins before you gave Hendrickson money?
Conventional wisdom says no. You're not going to pay, especially if you already have Chase under contract. Conventional wisdom says you're not going to pay two wide receivers max money over a pass rushing defensive end who's, I think he got like 34, 35 sacks the last 2 seasons. Why would you do that? That doesn't make sense to me. But the Bengals had a plan, and this is their plan. I guess their greater plan is what pleases Joe Burrow. Burrow said, I want both my guys.
That don't make sense. Yo, your line is garbage.
I'm not here to argue with you. We're on the same page. But having said that, look, I'm sure they're going to try to address the line as best they can. But I in this league where you're trying to stop opposing teams' quarterbacks, one of the best ways you do that is with a pass rushing defensive end.
That's what I'm saying. That and why are these kids today? They so worried about getting their money and then upset when they're not winning. Tom Brady, pay the line. Pay so-and-so, give me whatever's left. Long as I'm getting about 20 million, I'm good.
See, Tom was smart because he was like, you guys can just keep pushing my money down the road. Like, I'm going to get paid, but I can push it off a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Because we're winning, right? Plus, he was married to a supermodel who made way more money than he did. So he was good. He was good. He was straight.
So I want to talk about some coaches, man, that's in the hot seat this year, man. Mike McDaniel is in the hot seat this year, man. He's supposed to be the offensive guru, and it's not panning out as the way he is supposed to be for the Miami Dolphins right now, man. Do you see Mike McDaniel? What is his expectation to not get fired this year?
To not get fired, I think they would have to make the playoffs and win a playoff game.
That's it? Just one playoff game and he's good.
That's one more than he's ever won. So yeah, that would be an improvement. I think if you're going to say what holds on to his job, make the playoffs, win a playoff game.
You don't think going to at least the AFC Championship game?
Well, first of all, the Dolphins don't have the talent. They don't have the talent to go to the AFC Championship game, so you ain't got to worry about that. Like,
they got Reek, man, and Tua Tagovailoa.
You've got a great over-the-top wide receiver. You've got Waddle, and you've got Tua. But the thing about Tua is this: let's say you can keep him upright and he doesn't get injured. There is a way to defend him, and a lot of teams have learned how to do this. Is They attack the fact that he's short. He gets a lot of his passes batted down. They're more physical with Waddle and Reek at the line of scrimmage because you can reroute them. As great as Tyreek Hill is, and I say this because everybody can't do this, when you get your hands on him, you can reroute him.
So you think Kyle and Cottrell thinks Mike McDaniels is one of the most overrated coaches in the league?
You're not going to get an argument from me. I agree with that, which is why I said you said the bar is low, but honestly, if they got to the postseason and they won one playoff game, that would be huge for Mike McDaniels.
Another coach who's also in the hot seat is Zach Taylor, man. Given that they went to the Super Bowl one time and didn't get close again, but bar injuries and all that, man, what would stop the Bengals coach from not getting fired this year?
An act of God, I guess. No, honestly, look, when you've got that quarterback, you've got those two guys on the outside, I think the offense is going to be explosive, even if the offensive line struggles. Here's the question: if they can keep Burrow upright and he didn't suffer any injuries, they're going to be one of the best offensive in football, even with the offensive line not being one of the best. I would say this: if you want to help Joe Burrow out, have a decent running game. Have a running game that can make people at least respect it enough that they'll bite on a play action pass.
They ain't got no run game. Who is back there?
I'm just saying that if you want to help Joe Burrow out, you don't have to be great at running the football, but you got to run the football to keep defenses honest.
I don't know if they got that in them, man.
Well, then he's fired.
Another coach that's supposedly in the hot seat, Jonathan Gannon. He left the Eagles to go to the Cardinals, man, and hasn't been doing very well, man. He's 12-22 with the Cardinals on the cumulative record, man.
There's a reason for that.
Do you see him turning his team around this season to get out the hot seat, or
nah? He gonna get burned up in the hot seat. He ain't getting out the hot seat. He gonna be
cooked this year.
Oh yeah, he should already put his house up for sale. He cooked. He done. Here's the problem. If you put all your money into Mighty Mite as your franchise quarterback, that's the problem with Mighty Mite.
Kyler Murray ain't bad. He ain't dedicated enough,
right? So you're making the argument he's not bad, which a lot of people say.
Mm-hmm.
My response to that is, you're right. He's not bad, but he's also not a franchise quarterback. He's not. He can't drop back and throw the ball on time. When he's at his best, the only time he's at his best is when it's a broken play. It's when it's a broken play is when he's effective. But if you tell him to drop back, go through your reads and hit this guy or hit that, that's not a strength. I think Kyler Murray is more playmaker than he is quarterback, and I don't think you can win on a consistent basis with him as your franchise quarterback.
I don't know, man. Kyler is good. I just don't think he just got I don't know.
I'll tell you what.
He's missing the drive to something, man. I don't know what's up with him.
He's really good on Madden. He's really good. I played with him.
About Madden.
You play with them Cardinals on Madden, and Kyler Murray is a problem.
Oh, man,
you play with him in real life, Kyler Murray is he's another kind of problem. I'm just saying. He's vastly overrated.
So let's get to the big dog before we get out of here, man. Everybody know who the big dog in the league is. Mike Tomlin. He supposedly could be facing a hot seat this year. 500 and getting into the playoffs is not going to do it. What would save Mike Tomlin's job this year? How far does he need to go in the playoffs?
Well, let's start with the obvious. First, they got to get a quarterback. Because if they don't get a quarterback and they go into the season with Mason Rudolph as a starting quarterback, and I know somebody said, well, they made the playoffs one year with Mason Rudolph. Right. There's also a reason why you've had like 5 quarterbacks since, because you know that Mason Rudolph is not the guy. So if he's going to go to war with Mason Rudolph, Mike Tomlin's getting fired. So that's a fact. If Mason Rudolph is your quarterback, and I want to remind people, you pointed out how the Bengals have a bad offensive line. The Steelers have a horrible offensive line. They don't have a run game. And you're going to say, Mason Rudolph, lead us to 10 or 11 wins. That won't happen.
I think the defense been taking them to wins.
It's a good defense, but it's not a dominant defense. Remember, there's a reason why every time they play the Ravens dog walk that defense. They run the ball down their throats at will. They're a good defense. They are not a dominant defense. So I'm sorry. If you don't have a quarterback, Mike Tomlin's getting fired.
You're waiting on A-Rod, man.
I think you might get fired with him because no, let's keep it a buck. Is Aaron Rodgers better than Mason Rudolph? By a mile. But what's not going to change is that dude's over 40. And you playing him, and you playing a 40-year-old quarterback behind a terrible offensive line.
So you gonna take your chances with A-Rod over Mason?
Look, if I'm Mike Tomlin, I already got my house up for sale. I'm already thinking about my next franchise. I'm telling you that A-Rod is an upgrade over Mason Rudolph, but I'm also telling you I can see it where Aaron Rodgers takes a beating as the Steelers quarterback and doesn't finish the season.
I mean, he got DK to just throw it up there, you know. DK, you got a Pat at the tight end. He's a very solid tight end that can catch the rock for him, man.
And how much time do you think he's gonna have back there to go through all these reads? 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, bam!
No, all you gotta do is drop back DK already on the vertical.
Well, so let's go with DK. I like what you said about the vertical.
I forgot about him. Will Howard is there too.
Right. The only thing about DK is we always talk about receivers route tree. He got one limb on his tree. He can run a 9 route. That's it. He's not a route runner. DK is not a route runner. So I would argue that Pickens is a better route runner, and he is. But look,
they got the same route tree.
No, Pickens is better than DK. DK is good at contested catches. He's a big body, but he's not a route runner. He's about as good a route runner as Deebo Samuels, and that's not a good route runner.
No, I mean, I think George can only run posts and run verticals.
Right. Well, DK can only run verticals. That's it. He got one route.
We can run
a 9 route. He can run a 9 route, and he's good at the goal line. I'm just telling you right now, the way the Steelers went about building this roster the last couple of years, I feel like they don't want to say we want to replace Mike Tomlin. I feel like they just want him to do bad enough to where they can do it with no one complaining about it. Like, I feel like you're setting him up for failure. And I'm sorry, unless their defense turns into like the 2000 Ravens or the 85 Bears, they're not making the playoffs.
One more thing I forgot, Mo, before we get out of here, man. I'm hearing that Bronny could go into the Lakers' regular rotation this upcoming season, man. Do you think this is just something that the Lakers are trying to do to keep LeBron from leaving the Lakers? Because he is on a player option.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. Look, I'll say this. I'd rather him leave. I mean, I'd rather him leave. He's welcome to go. He should go.
What's up, man? Come on, man. You don't think LeBron got one more run in him?
I don't care about the numbers because he's going to put up numbers. I care about if he can impact winning. And really what he's doing, what he is he's an anchor over my franchise's neck, and they need to move on. You want to know what's holding the Lakers back? That dude. They have to move on. The problem is they won't move on because Jeannie historically, like her dad, kisses Star's ass. So he has all the control in that franchise. But if it was up to me, out on the next train smoking.
Ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate y'all for stopping through, man. Appreciate everybody in the comments and everything and hanging out with me and Mo this morning. Big dog. If you're Mo better, you do better, ladies and gentlemen. Take us out.
Hey, thank you guys so much for joining us. Appreciate everybody in the chat. Make sure you check out all the great content we have at Wire to Wire Network. Wire to Wire Network, we appreciate you guys.